Okay.
Warming up, and I hope the fan cannot be heard.
Yeah, I'm sure it can.
It's probably blowing into the mic.
Yeah, because the mic is the laptop now. I still haven't figured out the driver issue. I haven't paid the Pride shirt.
Okay, setting up. Oh, look, we look darker than previous.
But this is you've changed the behind lighting.
Yeah, the behind lighting is stronger than the front lighting. Mm, okay.
Don't obsess. We'll fix it. But it's a good experiment. But I like the tone a bit more. Hi, Mitch. We're trying to figure out the lighting still. I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of editing.
Okay. Hopefully that's not burning us up. Yeah, but the light now in the back is stronger
You want to reduce the intensity of that?
on it. Okay,
Oops.
15-second delay. I'm watching now as the light adjusts. See, now we're brighter. But then it's the sad background again. Hi!
So what do you want to do?
Anyway,
What do you want to do? What do you want to
shoot in the daytime.
do? But then the daytime naman, it overexposes. It's
Yeah.
really like a night camera. Cause like when during my for my calls during the day, I'm super white out. Like I don't know if I should switch back to the other one for my work calls. Oh well, it's a challenge, guys. It's a challenge. Okay, I have tweeted. Whew. So yeah, we're talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it always throws me for a loop because I'm so used to saying Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it's the Falcon and the Winter Soldier for I don't know consistency of levels.
Mhm.
Is it a grammar thing to give them this super important title case for both of them?
Or might be just a legal thing, so they're both equal billing, so to speak.
I maybe.
Shirts are snug to it.
Yeah, they're like only wear the O bar appropriate, kind of snug. Hey, Nikki.
Ooh, should we have Nick as a guest?
I don't know.
Nick, can we have you as a guest? Because this seems like a topic you really can share information with us.
Then again, he's probably like watching three different streams at the same
Yeah, but
time.
no harm in asking. Nick.
I'm so scroofy. I didn't shave this week. One thing led to another, and then my mornings have always been busy. It's like, wow, it's the week's almost over. I didn't shave. It's uncomfortable.
So while we're waiting for Nick to agree to guest or not, I guess we might as well go start.
Oh, he's still working. Okay. No
Oh,
worries. No worries.
no pressure then. We'll appreciate your comments as part of your contribution to our tiny show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess we can start.
Yep. Rolling credits.
Oh yeah! Really
This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
Sorry, natawa sa comment. This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, bakit may angry react? If it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. Tonight is a Marvel night because that's our shirts show.
This is our only pair of Marvel shirts, so this is gonna come up every time we do this.
And Thursdays we try to tackle different fandoms. We wanted to tackle the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in this case, we wanted to tackle the show that is a bit safer to talk about because it won't feel as spoilery.
Yeah, at first like, hey, we can talk about Loki, but then Loki just ended. Wait, we haven't talked about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so we're doing that instead. Hooray! So, first of all, it is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I can't get over this. I can't. It's so hard to keep track sometimes. And it's just like of the announced Disney Plus shows, I really didn't know like what to feel about this. Like, what marketing focus group decided that we wanted a pseudo buddy cop series featuring the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Although in many ways, that's sort of what we anticipated with the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We sort of saw how Vision seemed like an attempt to touch on the more romantic side of things, at least when we first heard about it. And then this one seemed to be maybe they're trying a buddy cop for this one. Maybe they're trying romance for this one, romantic comedy for this one. Maybe they're trying this and that. And I guess we were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely. We weren't sure what to expect, but I think whatever we expected wasn't this. And that's like how this thing came around. I mean, Nikki is asking buddy cop series. It's not BL. Okay. It's still that's the buddy cop genre is the original macho romance drama. No homo and all that, you know. All right, but let's talk about the actual premise. I know, right?
Anyway, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier follows the events of Avengers Endgame. Sam Wilson, or the Falcon, and Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, team up on a global adventure that tests their abilities and their patience. So the summary itself feels very buddy cop already.
Yes.
If you look at shows such as, I was about to say Die Hard, that was wrong.
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon
is your
it's a perfect example.
Or Bad Boys, if you're into that.
It would have a very similar premise it's about them having to do this and survive with each other and cope being together.
It's the Odd Couple, but military. Oh my god, that's an old reference. Okay, so digging into it though, let's think about the progression and why it was like so at the and spoilers obviously if you haven't seen Endgame, but yes, Shark.
Yeah, spoilers. Okay. The show's been long enough. There has been another show after this, and it's done as well. Okay, so spoilers are off.
Yeah, but we're if hey, it's okay if you're the type who has not gone out of their way to watch Disney Plus content in a country where Disney Plus is not legally available, then I understand.
Okay.
So at the at the end of Endgame, Captain America retires. He literally ages out of the franchise, and that leaves, and then he leaves the Captain America shield with Sam Wilson, the Falcon.
Yeah.
Okay, as a proverbial passing the torch. This was interesting because if you go back to the comic books, there was a weird progression of what happened to the role of Captain America. It wasn't exactly the same events, but Captain America dies at the end of the comic book version of Civil War. And then, shortly before that, though, the Winter Soldier first appears because thank you, Ed Brubaker. And then Captain America is able to break him out of his brainwashed brainwashing, whatever.
Because we had to match the comics to the movies to some degree.
Wait, but this is still the comic thing. And then and because of that, eventually he passes the mantle of Captain America over to Bucky first.
Mhm.
Bucky actually develops his own Captain America costume, uh, takes on the shield, blah blah blah. But then, because it's the comics, Captain America didn't stay dead for long. But initially, Bucky keeps the role, but then eventually, Bucky quote unquote dies as Captain America. Um, the mantle passes back to Captain America, to Steve Rogers, sorry, and then, but Bucky's not dead, and he comes back as the Winter Soldier and starts performing espionage stuff that a Boy Scout like Captain America could never do.
Mhm.
And that's like, and then somewhere after that, oh, Sam Wilson becomes Captain America too. Well, instead of Steve. All these
Now,
things.
Noel mentions that I'm skipping the Sebastian Stan stuff,
Oh, the Sebastian Stanning. Okay.
but there is mention that it felt more like Rush Hour. Rush Hour is as well one of the buddy cop type of movies.
Hello, Internet. We should be back now.
So Tango and Cash,
Turner and Hooch. Oh my
Turner and
God,
Hooch.
yes.
Bad Boys, Rush Hour, of course, is mentioned. Then you have other stuff such as The Nice Guys, wherein
yeah.
it tries to go beyond just the buddy cop genre. Hot Fuzz, wherein it now focuses more on comedy than the
Hot
buddy
Fuzz
cop.
was something else
It
entirely.
still has some level of buddy cop
but true,
angles.
but true.
And so on and so forth. So the premise always being you have two people who
Conflicting personalities.
struggle to work together,
Yes.
but it's only by getting past their differences do they actually succeed in doing the job,
Yeah.
which usually has a criminal aspect to it because it has to be a cop aspect.
Well, yeah.
So, going back to the comics,
So yeah, so that whole transition, so it's like Bucky becomes Cap, and then the Falcon becomes Cap, and he becomes a Captain America with wings because of course he does.
Mhm.
So it was interesting that at the end of Endgame, when you have Captain America talking to both Bucky and Sam, but then passing the shield on to Sam, so that we're really setting something up there. And this Disney Plus mini series, because there is no season 2,
Mhm.
is
so far,
no, it's confirmed. It's
So
really a
far,
mini series.
you know how things are and change when popularity hits.
Because there's a Captain America movie.
Mm.
So the movie is being positioned as the sequel to the series.
Okay.
So that's why that is. Oh, Nikki joins in with trivia. Fear itself, the storyline that quote unquote killed Bucky Cap, was actually intended to put Steve Rogers and Thor back in the spotlight since they've been gone for almost a decade, and the first Cap and Thor movies are coming up that year.
Yes.
See, yeah, and then it's just little merry-go-round. So, so the series starts off with the Falcon still being the Falcon and the Winter Soldier still being the Winter Soldier. No one is Captain America, and that becomes sort of an interesting initial question that they have to address. Like, um, will Sam become take up the mantle as sort of pseudo endorsed by Steve and
Mhm.
take that up? Is Bucky just going to be brooding and perpetually dirty looking for the rest of his career? All these things. Um, Noel says he wouldn't want a season 2. He was okay as a mini movie. That's fair. That's fair. So, um, so then what do we want to cover now? So that's our setup. I guess we can talk about first the initial big bad we are presented with. That there is a global movement um, trying to fight for better treatment of people after the blip,
Mhm.
right? Because there was the snap and then the blip is when they come back.
Mhm.
So the there was that whole social justice angle, like because of all these people have come back, then the world is back to being overpopulated and straining with resources and a lot of income inequality. And then so you have people who are wanting to go back to the supposed purity
Mhm.
that the snap gave everything, because it did take out half the population. It opened up new opportunities for people, and it literally changed the world. Thanos may not have been totally totally off point. Okay. Um, um, but yeah. So, what did you think of this interpretation of what were they called again? They're the flag smashers here, right?
Hmm.
Okay. What were your thoughts on this global movement that, whatever. I guess they were pseudo anonymous in like inspiration.
Yeah, I, I struggled to appreciate the enemy in the show. The personalities of the character, so the personalities of the villains, namely the character Carly, played by Erin Kellyman,
Okay.
was fascinating. I wanted to get to know her more. I wanted to feel her motivations. I
Mhm.
wanted to understand her struggle. But the show barely gave us a chance to really do that. There was a lot of talk of a lot of post editing and adjusting the plot in order to lessen the presence of what was supposed to be a viral related storyline.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
There
I'm
there may have been some sort of
yeah,
pandemic.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure on I'm not sure about the accuracy of that. We're not experts, but I feel that is most likely to be true because it does feel like a lot of the story feels rushed. We first see her mistaken to be a civilian in
Mhm.
the combat scene, which is in the truck,
Yeah.
and then later on we learn she's part of the threat.
And super strong.
But there is that disconnect in that scene because it felt like we never exactly knew why that truck was important. We never exactly knew why they didn't just shut the truck down and stop it fully.
Yeah.
There was a lot of questions that were left unanswered because I guess they had to edit around it.
Yeah, and sort of like there was the question of what exactly was like the level of authority that that the Falcon was operating
Hmm.
under. It wasn't quite an Avengers mission, but then he was like still working with the government,
Hmm.
and then you have Bucky as a wild card, like just
It almost felt
being all over the
like
place.
if Batman was more popular, because he's a vigilante, he's not officially part of the military or the police, but sure you can do that, and then we'll just scold you afterwards.
Mm,
But
mm.
we're not arresting you, so I don't understand that situation.
And Noelle says her accent came and went. There, well,
Mhm.
that's TV for you. Um, but yeah, so I mean, like there were some scenes like showing the mother figure that inspired them all, and like there was a lot of I guess implied effort to humanize them. But then that sort of also like made it more confusing. Like, were they really this big threat? Because we were in a rush to humanize them, and they didn't really feel like a threat in the long
Or
term.
the bigger scenes that humanized them
We're cut.
were cut, and that's what I feel about it. It really feels incomplete the way she was presented.
Mm.
It feels like we jumped across a lot of plot points and then just tried to so like she's related to this mother figure, and then Sam knows the mother figure. Why do they know these people? Where was the setup to show that they knew each other? Glossed over. So it's stuff like that. And um, in as much as the fight scenes were fun, I love the fight scenes in this series because they tried to maximize what you can do when you have a super soldier and a non super soldier in the same
Mm.
fight scene. Um, but I have to admit, Bucky, are you really that useless with your bionic arm? Is it the most useless bionic arm ever? I mean,
Well, yeah,
against the Wakandans, they disabled it. That makes sense.
it's
But
their tech.
but then
Yeah,
against everyone else, is the most you can really do with it is block knives.
I somewhat appreciate the fact that was this, which was like stressed, which was brought up in a throwaway piece of dialogue, but that Bucky's right-handed,
Mm-hmm.
so the bionic arm being the left arm is not necessarily super useful because it's not his dominant arm.
Mm-hmm.
So it really becomes more a shield
But
in
that's
some
the thing.
degree.
I mean,
Yeah.
for someone who, as far as we know, Bucky, he's someone who masters weapons and he becomes really good at using weapons because
Mm-mm.
that's his stick. He doesn't have powers; he has to use weapons. You'd think he would have learned to use his hand in more efficient ways.
There is that. There is that. His combat style could have been a bit more elegant. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like he had the cool knife work in the Captain America movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the TV series, yeah, it was a bit like neither here nor there.
Because that bionic arm was the equivalent of having a gormal or a baton constantly with you.
And it's vibranium, right?
And-
It was implied vibranium
And you
arm.
could imagine all the things you could do with that tactically. But he doesn't really do it that way. He'll still resort to kicks and punches with his normal bits. And I'm like, what? So that kind of frustrated me.
Okay. I think that's a fair criticism. Noel says maybe they were humanizing him too much. Anna complains that they made him useless. He was literally the Winter Soldier. If he had spent all of his brainwashed life just killing people, you think he'd be better at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Early in the series, we get the high comedy moments. I feel like they really condensed. They were like the first episode had most of the comedy, the therapy sessions,
Mhm.
the trying to get Bucky and Sam to work together, and all these things,
Mhm.
which were okay. There was definitely some chemistry between the two. I don't know if it really like worked narratively
Mm-hmm.
as a whole. Like this effort to just put them together. What did you think?
Um, I feel if they didn't focus on the flag smashers, this could have been a modern day Sopranos. We're in every
Sopranos.
we're in every episode is a session.
Oh.
And then we just have montage shots of the mission. And then it's back. So what happened this time? He was in the way.
that
And
could
then
have been
it's
that
all
could have been
this.
interesting.
But then we always just have brief, like 10-20 second sequence of the fight action sequence, and then we cut back to the session. So how are you handling your anger? And that could have been so much more interesting for me. That could
Yeah,
have been more fun.
I thought it was super convenient that like upon the pseudo arrest that the therapist shows up and is the one who talks to them and then has to sign
Mhm.
off on him getting out. So that was a bit weird. Um, and then we also and then there was like the initial plots for each of our main characters.
Mhm.
So Sam Wilson goes home
Mhm.
and they're going to sell the family boat because blah 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 blah, and then he tries to get a loan, try to help his sister get a loan, and doesn't really go anywhere.
Mhm.
So this was an interesting angle. I mean, like there was clearly effort to depict the challenges that are being faced
Yes.
by African Americans in that social economic situation, compounded by the blip
Yeah.
sort of background. So I think that was interesting, and then how even little things like why the Falcon is being called Black Falcon,
Mhm.
even though there is no White Falcon. But
Mhm.
just that instinct that they always have to like clearly distinguish that it's the black character, and that's
Mhm.
all you remember about them. So I think there were some good ideas
Mhm.
in like trying to tackle more relevant modern
Mhm.
race issues with that.
The show did, what's the word? Um, really tried to hit a lot of targets
Yes.
in a single series.
Yeah,
Because so you have the two leads, which in itself is already a challenge to make a show that has two characters with super diverse stories.
mm-hmm.
I mean, WandaVision, they live together. They're a couple, so at least you can tell the stories as them.
As a pair,
But here,
we had to get
he
them
has-
together.
he has his life, and then they have their life together as a story. So that's three stories already. But then we have Zemo,
Flag Smashers,
and then we have the Flag Smashers.
and then some interesting cameo characters
And
on
then
the
we
side.
have all these cameos, which sort of were meant to build up, to build up Phase 4, because that's what a lot of the media that's coming out is all about, right?
They're seeds.
They're all about seeding and planning for what's to be the big things coming out, and that has a lot of cons because it does make you feel like, okay, I'm keeping track of everyone we're introducing now, but we're not really seeing what their point is anyway. So it feels messy that way.
Okay. So speaking of cameos, first on the Falcon side, we get randomly Isaiah Bradley,
Mhm.
which is an interesting thing. It's very exciting because he was the first captain. In the comics, he's depicted as the first Captain America because they originally experimented on a version of the super soldier serum on him, sort of like the Tuskegee Airmen and all that. And very tragic story. Very interesting to bring it up. But yeah, it was like I think they did the best they could in the time they had.
Yes.
But I don't know if it was really a smart decision to pigeonhole that into this story. Okay. Okay. And then we'll touch on that in a bit, Noel.
Mhm.
So and then there was like the excitement because technically his son becomes Patriot in the comics.
Yeah.
But I think any comic connections are out the window until you see it.
Yeah, and they're always nice to have.
Yeah.
But then when you linger a lot more time on them,
You're maybe pushing things too hard because in the end the MCU is the MCU.
and there's that frustration when it doesn't really go anywhere, but you lingered so much on them. Case in point, we have what's her name who was in. Oh my gosh, my brain's not remembering the places. Um, the former Shield agent they saw in
Sharon Carter.
yes, Sharon
Okay.
Carter. Um, her appearance felt too long for a cameo, but too short to be really in the series. So
Okay.
it was a frustrating appearance.
Okay.
If it was meant to build up mystery, you don't feel there was enough to understand what that mystery should be. Instead, you end up speculating from nothing that was really clear.
Hmm.
Um, and then if it was a cameo, there were too many lines, too long to have her on the shots to just be a cameo. So it was that type of a frustrating thing.
So, and then we should get to this question in a bit. Tristan's asking, what did the show do well? I think we're kind of going like thread by thread, and then but admittedly, there's still like a lot of like opportunity.
So given already the three main story arcs, plus the cameos, which had their own story arcs, we then have the villain, who has their own story arc to tell.
Wait, which villain?
So the main villain is first introduced as a hero, which is the supposed replacement to Captain America.
Okay, so we're going there. So we're going to talk about, oh my god, what's his human name? But then we're talking about the U.S. agent.
Yeah. So Wyatt Russell plays. Oh my gosh, his name. What was his name? Um, uh,
John Walker.
there you go. I was about to say. I was thinking it was an alcohol.
Close, I guess, close in a Toby logic perspective. Right. So, the John Walker stuff at the beginning, no, excuse me, was kind of exciting though,
Mm-hmm.
because there was definitely an attempt to draw from his comic book depictions,
Yes.
including his partner,
Mm-hmm.
and then his progression through the series made sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it totally made sense in terms of what he was and what he was designed to do. I mean, like ultimately, he was a soldier. They were trying to craft into a Captain America who would report into the government structure.
I found it hard to swallow though that he was not an enhanced soldier until later in the series.
Oh, because
Given everything he was
he had
already
really
doing
good shield work.
that early.
Yeah,
I mean, um, that was already far too close to supernatural the way he was doing things. If I were to compare it to, let's say, Black Widow or Hawkeye, he was, doing the impossible with how he threw that shield and how many ricochets it was making.
mm.
At least Hawkeye and Black Widow used gadgets to help them be more awesome. So I remember when we first saw him on the series, we were thinking, oh, is he also now enhanced in a certain way? But then no, we find out in the series that he's supposedly unenhanced and he has these insecurities about people who have powers, and that leads him down to his darker path. But I mean, seriously, the way he was presented, that had no powers. that field thing where he was throwing the shield and it's bouncing and hitting all these targets before it goes
Even
back
just
to him.
the fight on top of the trailer truck,
Mm-hmm.
that was like, wow. I mean, like it was a great fight scene. It's just that in terms of internal logic, like he's not enhanced. So
Mhm.
yeah, I get that.
I kind of wanted to see more distinctness. Like maybe in the earlier ones, you could see the vuelo to do something or the effort to make it happen. But we didn't really feel that. We just saw him as very angry. So I was kind of frustrated about that.
So yeah, so similar to the comic, he does eventually become a Captain America, and this is like, this is what Nick was alluding to earlier, that there, it's not the first time that we've dealt with Captain America being replaced, and the
Yes.
U.S. agent was one of those because it was one of those weirder storylines where uh, Captain America resigned, and then the role like stayed
Mm-mm.
in America, and then actually Captain America becomes a U.S. agent, and then John Walker becomes Captain America, and it was a thing. It was a thing. Um, so uh, yeah, so I was generally excited about it. I think it was interesting, and I liked how he just stayed like he just got darker and darker as a character, and it's
Mhm.
just but it's dark, but he's trying to do the right thing.
Mhm.
He's still trying to be a good soldier, but then Captain America is not a soldier. Captain America is a hero, and
Yeah.
that's a different thing. It's a totally different thing. Noel does joke that Peter Parker said it best: "The shield doesn't obey the laws of physics." That is true. Um, and he also said earlier that he thinks the main fault of the series that they were trying to squeeze in too many stories in such a short
Yeah.
series.
Way too many.
Nikki also says he wished there was more Agent 13, Sharon Carter. Okay, so let's talk about Sharon Carter.
Okay. So do
So,
you feel she was the villain?
no, I think she's got dealt a bad hand after Shield's collapse, and is just looking out for herself.
Okay. Do you believe she's the power broker?
Sadly, yes.
But do you believe the power broker is a villain?
No, it's just a business. I mean, it's a villain in the sense that like it's a mob boss, or it's a it, it is someone who is performing crime, an organized crime thing, but is not like a super villain taking over the world.
Me, it's a deep cover.
You think it's deep cover?
I think it's a deep cover. I think it's her being one with the villains, so the villains trust her, and therefore she has an in on what they're up to.
Okay, which hopefully pays off somewhere.
I really hope so. And um, in many ways, I guess that's the thing. In terms of one of the things that the show did good was the feeling that we had something that touched on cops, spies, betrayals, trust, and the like. Um, this Black Widow sort of did the same thing in terms of touching on these angles of spies and espionage and the like.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but wonder if there is some level of that as the main thrust of the cinematic universe for the next phase. Only because if the first phase was all about hero sprouting out, finding that chance to be the hero. The second phase sort of became proving that you're worthy of being the hero, fighting this massive, impossible enemy. The third phase was rising from failure and all this and that. Then this fourth phase might be all about trust, about betrayals, about espionage.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, there's secret invasion coming up. Hence, um, so far of what we've seen, uh, Black Widow, you could even say Loki has elements that almost feel like it's espionage in feel.
There is that.
So I can't help but feel Power Broker's role in all this will be sort of like um, either she's the Loki to Kang's Thanos.
What?
Because remember how in the earlier Marvel Cinematic Universe everyone saw Loki as the big bad. And then
Okay,
suddenly, whoa, wait a minute.
he's working for someone else.
Yeah, and even the Red Skull was just a passing villain compared to Loki back then.
That was sad.
So,
Okay.
so I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. And here, if we were to use Infinity Gauntlet as the analogy, if Kang is Thanos, Then Power Broker is Mephisto. Remember how in the comics he was all master, and then later, steal the love if he can. So yeah, I can't help but feel that's the direction they're doing.
Okay, okay. And it's interesting to bring up the whole trying to figure out the phase thing because technically wasn't Falcon and the Winter Soldier supposed to come out a little earlier in the rollout schedule. It was like Black Widow was supposed to kick us off,
Yes.
and then it would have been interesting that Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier released much closer together because they kind of explored similar themes, and we're in the weird low power side of the
Mhm.
Marvel universe where
Mhm.
it's a bunch of like just people doing a good job. So I don't know. I don't know. There is that.
Yeah, I honestly don't see Sharon having a villain motivation.
Okay.
I see her more as having um, possibly parang closer pa to a fanatical motivation than a villain motivation for me. In the sense that the way I'm seeing it. So as far as she knows, um, she's failed before because of the snap, and then she's failed again because Cap and the others are gone.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if she's now diving into the dark end in order to fight them from within.
That's possible. It's still possible. I guess it's just there's always that angle of I mean technically after the Captain America movie she got thrown under the bus.
Mhm.
Like she was left holding the bag, and then now this could be the consequences of like because she's been
Possible.
disowned and now she's on her own and she's become a rogue element.
Or
But
she's a
then
Skrull.
that's gonna come up in every Marvel show discussion at this point. As long as they're out there, they're always gonna accuse many characters of being Skrulls
Mhm.
because that's how it's supposed to be. We're always
Yeah.
gonna say Skrulls are everywhere.
Yes.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so I don't know, and like given her comic book role around the time of Captain America's big death, and
Mhm.
and how that was dealt with after, it's just weird to like, I don't know. It was nice to see her, but then I didn't quite know if she was utilized
Yeah,
well in the
I
series.
felt that way too. I felt like if it was just a she helps get them out of that bar sequence, and then that's it. We don't see her anymore. That would have been better for me.
Like if it was just a it was a they called her in for help and then she does them a favor and then that's it.
Mhm.
Like
Or the other way around. They're trying to find their contact. They can't, and then she happens to be there. She pulls them out of the fray and like, what are you doing here? None of your business. I got you out. And then she leaves, and then it kind of tells you, ooh, she's still up to something and she's still active. And I
yeah,
would have preferred that.
but now that we got shown more of her involved all the way to the end
Mm-hmm.
and with a post credit moment,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, okay, okay, I'm not sure. Of course, Nikki cites Val. We'll talk about Val in a bit. I think we'll get through. We because there are so many plots. We have to get through many things because I think we need to talk about Zemo.
Zemo. So many feel Zemo's appearance is completely worth it because he danced. How do you feel about Zemo's dancing?
It was very memeable. So good job, internet.
Mhm.
But that's about it. I didn't really serve anything narratively, but
I
there it was.
I was annoyed that it wasn't working with the music.
Mm.
And I don't mean that in the sense that he's a bad dancer, but I mean the editing
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sort of made the music track not match the cuts. So you kind of felt it was supposed to be a montage sequence, but then the shots felt like they were real time. You get what I mean? You know how in editing a montage feels like a montage. So I was annoyed by that. That parang okay, I'm not sure what this is supposed to be, but that's awesome moves.
I'm happy we at least got a Zemo mask
Mm.
even in a bit across the
Mhm.
series that as a comic book Zemo mask.
What's with Marvel Cinematic Universe characters always leaving stuff in cars? They all have at one point or something had this moment. It's in a car or it's a
It's in a vehicle.
yeah. Black Panther had a similar moment. Zemo had that. Ant Man had that. Um,
That is something that we could explore. Okay, leaving things in vehicles. Okay, Nikki, of course, has hearts for emo Zemo. Um, and I think it was always when you watch all the analysis videos, especially during like when the series was coming
Mm-hmm.
out, it was interesting to look at how they always stress that MCU Zemo, his thing was trying to get rid of those with power,
Mm-hmm.
right? He was super against superhumans, so technically he wouldn't be totally against the snap, and then all these things, and I think he had some fairly interesting motivations to some
Mm-hmm.
degree, but then it still didn't super make sense to me why getting him out of prison,
Was necessary.
yeah, was like, why was
Yeah,
this the good idea?
I felt that way too. Given I don't feel he really contributed anything later on while he was out.
Yeah,
Um,
except the dance.
the scenes that followed, I felt like could have been stuff they could have deduced and tried to do on their own.
Mm-mm.
It could have been, let's see if we can shake out some
Work with Sharon more from
Mhm.
make her run the intelligence, and then
Yes.
why did we bring in another character? Because the only benefits of bringing in Zemo was to see the Dora Milaje because they were
Mm.
angry that they brought out Zemo,
Mm-mm.
but then that resolved very quickly. Um,
And okay, so this is my peeve about things like this. Wherein you have spy espionage stories, so they sneak someone out of prison because they need to use him, which means they'll have to hide from the law.
mm-mm.
But then you have other people so easily finding them because of their gripes on who was released.
Okay.
So, how good are they really hiding if they're espionage people in the first place? So, it's stuff like that that frustrates me. That I don't sometimes understand. Are we supposed to um, so tech trumps espionage skills, or are we looking at it as they were that careless? But then, if they were that careless, then why
Why
didn't
are they the focus
or
of the
why didn't
show?
Shield show up sooner and stuff like that? So it's stuff like that that I feel that hand waved expertise when need be.
Yeah, and it's sad because like the captain. I mean, it's only in recent years that I've come to a better appreciation of like, um, the espionage angle was really something that on and off has been explored in the
Mm.
Captain America books,
Mm-mm.
because like you get to, because of his age, so to speak, you get to tie him to things like Nick Fury and a
Yeah.
lot of the Shield operations, and so and hence Brubaker's run on a lot of the Captain America and Captain America related books like The Winter Soldier was really like trying to celebrate espionage tropes
Mm-hmm.
and the like in within the context of the Marvel universe. And then you kind of wanted that, more of that from this series. Sorry, it's not a movie, but this
Mm-hmm.
series. And then it didn't quite get there. In fact, I felt we had better espionage stuff in the Black Widow movie, which even that was not perfect, but still felt more fulfilling.
Yes.
Okay. Um. So yeah. So Zemo was weird, I think, and it wanted to build up to something, but in the end, it didn't really.
Yeah, I felt that way too.
They just showed him. I mean, the most villainous thing he really did was the fact that he carried around Turkish delight, and ooh, that is evil candy from a Narnia perspective. When you offer Turkish delight, you are evil. Okay. Um. Okay, I see you brought up a page. Oh, Joaquin Torres.
So again,
He's there.
how many cameos did this series have
He's there. He becomes the Falcon
in the
in the
comics?
comics. He's actually weird because he's like gene spliced mutated with Red Wing, the real bird in the comic, because
Mm-mm.
Red Wing was an actual bird in the comic that
Mm-mm.
Sam was telepathically linked to. Um, but then because Red Wing is not a normal Falcon, he had also been altered because of certain adventures. Then the change to Joaquin was permanent and he couldn't go back. So he has literal wings. But sorry, then that's like the fastest I can explain his character.
Mm.
Um,
We know he won't be big because the Serpent Society doesn't exist in the cinematic universe,
so far,
and that was his main enemy.
Yeah, and even the Serpent Society was one of the first enemies that Sam Wilson, Captain America, faced.
Mm-mm.
That whole arc, which is why Joaquin was created. All that. It's just we didn't get any of that. We got him there, and then we are assuming he's inheriting the wings at the end. I guess because why not? You know, because he's a tinkerer who gets involved with the gadget. So
And then
okay,
you have Batroc.
well that's not super bad. Batroc the Leaper, only because you just established that he's a recurring Captain America villain. So
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of fun to see him. Um, and MCU Batroc is kind of a bit more awesome than comic book Batroc the Leaper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Batroc the Leaper in the comics later on would just be better known as a mercenary, and so
Yeah.
would he would it was an excuse to pull him into stories at random. Um, but he did appear in a few Captain America things, so there is that. Um, where else do we go? I guess in terms of like, because we haven't really answered, what are things we like? One thing I think where the show really shined was Sam Wilson stepping up to become Captain America.
Yeah.
I
That
think
was
that was
nicely done.
great. The training that build up, him trying to figure out how to use this shield as a
Mhm.
non-powered person,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the end the costume reveal, which was
Mhm.
very comic driven. That was super awesome.
How do you feel about the costume design?
It was okay. I mean, like because the costume is ridiculous in the comics
Mhm.
too, so I didn't mind. I liked how it came on screen. It didn't look too cheesy.
I could have used less layers.
Padding. It was
Kasi
quite padded.
Parang it was like, parang it was made of 7 different pieces overlapping each other. Because you had all this strap, but then there's a strap, and then there's that strap, and then there's that webbing, and then so it felt very Victorian.
Victorian. I thought you were gonna bring up like the pouches era.
It almost felt like parang, okay, I have to dress up. I'll need your help. Can you help strap me into my costume? Because it's layer after layer after layer. And then you had the headpiece, but then you had the goggles over it. So I don't know. I was kind of weirded out by all those layers.
Okay, that's fair. When
The,
you see it in real life, it is a lot of
but the
layering.
final look looked very nice.
Yeah.
It looked aerodynamic. It looked supportive in the sense that you can imagine for a normal person that has padding, that has reinforcements, so you don't tear off your muscles when you're doing stuff.
And the fact that he's gonna fly
Mm-mm.
and like with just a flight thing that's attached to his back. I mean
Mm-mm.
that's difficult. That's a lot of wear and tear. That's a lot of wear and tear. Nikki reminds us James Rhodes was there too. Yes. Oh, who is? That's all I can say. It's like hashtag not my war machine. Oh boy. Okay, so uh, looking at this, a lot of people complain about the pacing of the series,
Mhm.
and I kind of agree. It was a lot of starts and stops, and then it super accelerates at the end.
Mhm.
I mean, there are great moments throughout the series, but then on the whole, there were just weird creative choices and how they put one thing next to the other. And if the editing because of COVID stories are true, then you very much feel them in the first half of the series. There's
Mhm.
like a lot of weird developments and plot points that don't make sense or don't make as much sense or just felt weak. I guess. Okay.
What else do you feel does it successfully do? I think it shows, for me, they succeeded in showing the chemistry between the two leads.
Okay, that's
The
true.
love hate relationship between them was,
We buy into
yeah,
the buddy
yeah.
cop.
You could see it really happening. You could see the frustration they had with each other. You could see how they work well together as well. Um, I think I felt it the most when they all hung out with the family to eat by the boat.
Oh, okay.
Because it then felt very, oh nga naman, if you meet someone with a metal arm, the kids will try to hang on the person.
Yeah.
And then the moment he says hi to your sister, there's that, wait a minute.
Yeah. Those are good. Those are good
Very
moments.
human reactions, very believable. I like those.
Oh, on the side, which you also haven't quite explored because they also had the Bucky subplot of him dealing with
A previous person he killed.
and his list of people that
The
he
notebook,
owes.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that angle was good. Like
Mhm.
it lifts sort of from some of the comic book stories that have been told about the Winter Soldier, where he's on this constant like I must make amends
Mhm.
for my life, and so I think that was interesting. And then to kind of bring it back at the end, like he finally tells the guy.
I feel that story arc could have been their window to bring Zemo in.
Mm. Mm.
Wherein, he had to confront Zemo and face to face tell him off or something as part of his therapy.
Yeah.
Because that for me would be did you have Falcon? What? You broke him out? And he's like holding the book. It's like, I have to. It would have been something that for me would make more sense than their weird mission of we need to do this. We'll contact Zemo. But then Zemo is only important because he'll have us contact someone else in Madripoor.
Nikki agrees the boat scenes are love. Tristan says a number of nods to the Philippines in Madripoor and the woman who flew the chopper. Oh yeah, there was like, hey, hashtag Pinoy Pride.
The nods in Madripoor were odd.
But Madripoor's always been this generic, evil Southeast Asian country.
Yeah. I know there was some flack about people walking around in trench coats in a Southeast
In a
Asian
in a
country.
tropical country.
But then again, I've seen that happen in like Singapore and stuff. So it happens here in Manila. So I'm not surprised that people would do stuff like that only because it looks cool,
yes.
even if it's very uncomfortable.
Yes.
I would have, however, wished there was a line about that.
Um
You
yeah.
know? So like they're walking, and then maybe one of them mentions it's warm, and they're like, so it looks cool, and that would have been
A conceit. That would be a good
fine.
conceit. Yeah.
Diba?
Woman in the chopper was great.
Woman at chopper, I like that moment. It didn't feel forced for me.
Yeah. And it felt very like this is Sam working through the problem.
Yes.
Because he's not at the end of the day he's not a superhuman, so he can't brute force this. So he has to be smart, and he's generally trying to be tactical about it. So found another pilot in the plane. I mean, it's good stuff. That was good stuff. So I definitely like that. I don't know if we really did the therapy angle. I mean, like I needed the Bucky dealing with his stuff, but then the way it was handled, and then at the end, it was like okay,
Yeah.
it was noisy.
Well, because it felt like an add-on.
Yeah.
Which is why I wish it was the focus.
It could have been a good framing device. Now that you put it, it would have been a nice framing device.
It could have been he's going through therapy. Maybe the therapist tells him, is there anyone you can talk to who can relate with this? Of course, he's thinking Cap, and Cap is no longer around. And then that's when Falcon becomes the next best thing. And then the discussion could be while they're talking, so why me? And he might be plain and simple, because I can't find anyone from S.H.I.E.L.D. And that would have been a funny mention, but at the same time, because now they're spies, so you can't find them.
But
And
there's
then-
no shield.
Yeah,
Supposedly.
but parang ganun.
Yeah.
So parang he doesn't have anyone else to talk to except for Falcon, who's the closest thing to understand what he's going through. Then the therapy could be them going through things and him parang, so what are you up to? I'm handling this case, the flag smashers, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it could have had that sort of a roll to it rather than the way it went.
And aside, I forgot. I also like the fact that Bucky's friends are old men. That was
makes
nice.
sense, yeah.
That was nice. For people who play the legendary card game, where Bucky is introduced in a set that comes with the keyword "man out of time."
Mhm.
It's so good. That was so good. Um, on a side note, I did feel like Falcon and the Winter Soldier super felt like a legendary box expansion in terms of like, okay, we gotta pull all the Captain America characters together. They don't necessarily have a strong relation to one another, but we're gonna put them all in one box,
Mhm.
and then here we go. Because that's what we got. We got a bunch of them together. So
I did not like the last fight sequence.
which one? The not the helicopter.
No.
That was cool.
Yeah.
But when they get down,
The truck, the hanging onto the truck with the fight going on. the people all watching. Um, that felt a bit more contrived for me. That sequence, it it was frustrating to watch because there was a part of me that's like, really, that's where this is all leading up to a massive. I'll try to hold on to the truck before it falls, and then it. I was even frustrated that it felt disjointed when that scene ends, and then we cut to Walker having his special guest. Because parang, so did we really just not deal with what Walker did?
Yeah, because he went a little nuts.
But at the same time, we can't really have a scene focusing on punishing Walker because we already did that earlier in the series. So parang, I don't know, it felt very disjointed. I wonder if that was an editing issue again.
And then, oh my God, I forgot what I was gonna say. U.S. agent something something something.
If there was a cameo I wish was present, I think Shuri should have been in the series. Even if it were just a call, yeah, a communication, or even not even,
Kimoyo
or
Beagle.
even not even an appearance. It could be Sam getting a box, a card, and then it's from Shuri, and she's like, for you, since I gave Bucky something, and then it's the uniform.
What are those?
But something like that, because admittedly, the costume, great reveal and all, but where did it come from? We had to like assume na lang it was from Wakanda, but we didn't really have a handoff, which parang for me would have had more meaning, because again we know how vibranium is so important to them. Yes, he claimed his mantle, but I would have wanted them to accept that claim as well in a more visible way.
Yeah. Yeah, because they just say it's a gift from the Wakandans and that's it.
Mhm.
Like, okay, thanks Wakanda. Thanks Wakanda.
It could have been a scene while he's flying and we see a pop up and it's Shuri. Is it functioning well, Sam, or something like that? And it's working great. You have our blessing. Tapos, but that already says so much. So I wish there was something like that.
no, kasi baka in the movie papakita parang yung vest. Anyway.
Okay, Black Widow. We will have a separate episode for that. But I will admit, I like that. I like that movie much more than the series.
Okay, yeah. And then okay, I guess then we can talk about the stuff at the end.
Yeah.
So we get Val. So
I hate the name Val to refer to her because I'm so used to Val being Valerie Cooper of X Factor,
oh okay, that's very specific.
because she's Val
Okay.
and she's always been Val.
Whereas this, I mean, she's really the Contessa.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I'm so annoyed when I read posts or watch videos and they like, and Val blah blah blah. I keep thinking, oh my god, Valerie Cooper, but it's not Valerie Cooper.
You have a very specific.
So Valentina Allegra,
Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
yeah,
So Julia Louise Dreyfus was an interesting casting choice.
yes,
But I feel like she's really just still playing her character from Veep.
yes. Nick, of course, mentions that's the point. Is the point being she's the character from Veep, or is the point being you'll think she's Valerie Cooper? Because I don't think the Valerie Cooper angle was the point.
Yeah. As far as her cameo was in this chapter, it's
Mm.
like it was okay, but it didn't like really. I don't know. It didn't really push things enough for me because. But to be fair, because of the cameo here, her cameo in Black Widow. Sorry about that, but it's a post credit sequence. Had more of an impact when we saw her there.
Yeah, I do feel though if we saw her first in Black Widow, because the original plan was Black Widow.
That
to
is
come out
true.
First, then it would be a what? Who was that? Because she literally starts in that scene in the most
Mid conversation way,
non
yeah.
glamorous way, right? It's
It's like I'm sad too, yes.
compared to here in Winter Soldier, we're in. She had a lot more lines. She was explaining a lot more of her motivations and stuff like that. So I kind of feel sad we lost that speculative moment of seeing her for the first time and trying to figure out who the hell she was and why the hell was she there. Um, but in her first appearance with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, she kind of spells out, how she gets him in. You're reading Valerie Cooper.
Yeah, because Nikki says and that's why he feels it made sense because nga, in the comic,
Yes,
Val
that's
Cooper
true.
was the U.S.
Because
agent
Valerie
handler.
Cooper in the comics was the government person. The
Yes.
way in DC, it's always Waller, right?
Yeah,
The moment
Amanda
you have
Waller.
Waller, you know it's okay. It's connected naman to the ganyan. So Valerie Cooper was that.
So
type
it's
of
a
character.
so we can assume MCU Val is sort of a conceit that blends the two together. That it's the Contessa, but it's also Val. So you're not entirely your anger is justified, but you're not entirely off the mark.
Kasi wala pa kasing mutants.
So which brings us back to Madripoor. It was interesting to have Madripoor in the MCU, but then there's like, is that really like? I wonder like, is Madripoor a location slash property that should have been tied to the X-Men stuff, and then is bringing in Madripoor into an MCU series a flex to say like it's okay, we got all the rights back, so we can tell Madripoor stories. I don't know. I'm just like
But at the same time, it was a very normal.
throw away
It was
Madripoor.
a very normal Madripoor. We had what post-apocalyptic
Graffiti.
entourage down the highway that didn't seem to have any other purpose other than to bring people from that landing part to the city. Um, but given how comics Madripoor really either it's the land of the mutants or it is the land of people who have been super modified.
It's
for
like
tra-
it's like that Adventure Time episode where it's like City of Thieves. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
everybody's stealing from everybody. City of Thieves.
Yeah,
City of Thieves.
and they really pushed it sobra sa comics.
Yeah,
na,
yeah.
Na it even looked the place itself didn't look normal na. The buildings looked a mix of high tech and traditional.
And shanties and whatnot.
And here it just looked like
a place that's forever shot at night.
yeah,
It's like Madripoor is only nighttime.
which was in Southeast Asia but didn't have that many Southeast Asians in it. And it was very complicated. It almost really felt more like just a name.
And it was just a place for Sharon Carter to walk through a lot. Like she's like almost always on the phone walking.
Nick mentions Madripoor was more like the comic
Bagalia? MCU Madripoor. Okay. Yeah.
I'm checking Bagalia. I don't remember it. Sovereign Nation, undisclosed location, arcade. It's Arcade's place.
One of them. Yet another place that we get called Murder World.
Well, and I guess Madripoor kasi is no longer the mutant place because that became Genosha.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
And or San Francisco, depending on what era of Marvel Comics you're looking at. All right. So, other thoughts on the series as to should have, could have, shouldn't have.
Oh, okay. One of the popular theories that was going around on the internet when the show was ongoing, well, not theories, I really think it was a wish or a hope, was Armin Zola. And oh my god, I was in that camp. Like, I was in the camp that I wanted it, but I knew it could never happen. But it would have been super awesome if the Power Broker or any that was still being manipulated or whatever. The events were being pushed by a Hydra personality like Armin Zola.
The thing
Because
about
Zola is the robot.
And the funny thing about Zola is you can actually cast a new actor if you need to.
Yeah.
Because it's a new cyber body, it's a new
He's just always this blurry
it-
face
it-
on a TV
it
screen.
could have been done. So I'm sad they didn't. Nikki also mentions Krakoa.
Yeah, because that's now the mutant place.
Yes.
Literally.
In the latest version, the island is a mutant.
We'll see how long that goes. So that I kind of wanted. I guess that ultimately, Zola or not, I wanted the Power Broker subplot to go somewhere, to be a thing. And then because like after WandaVision had everybody like Mephisto, and then in the end it's not Mephisto, and then so Winter Soldier already also set us up to feel like no matter what fan theories you have from the comics, it's not gonna happen
Yeah.
because the MCU likes to disappoint you. And
Mhm.
then it was true. It's like no Zola for you. Ah,
I was hoping for a Mr. Sinister lookalike in Madripoor.
okay.
Just some guy in pasty white makeup with a black star on his forehead.
Or the goatee.
Yeah, and he just watches them as he's drinking, and that's it. And I would have been, I
That
would
would
have been
be too
happy
on
with
the
that.
nose from a mutant, bringing in the mutant storyline.
But we had a Madripoor where no one wore makeup, so
Mm.
it was like Mad Max with better clothes.
They're cleaner. They didn't look that dirty. I think Bucky still has looked dirtier than the people in
Or it was an
Madripoor.
unplugged Matrix.
Unplugged. Okay. So yeah. So there, which I guess was this the way that WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier treated sort of the things that fans would speculate about. Then which is preempting things. But then Loki turned around and like, nope, we'll we'll take a left turn again. But we'll talk about Loki another day. So on the whole, it was like uh, I walked away appreciating in general what Falcon and the Soldier tried to
Mm.
be. I appreciate the messaging for certain issues. I mean, there were some very important issues that they decided to surface and try to tackle to some degree.
Mhm.
So that was good. But then, like, as something that serves the greater MCU, and as part of the setup for Phase Four, I don't know. It didn't feel like we really set up a strong enough story. Because, like, especially if this show is leading into the next Captain America movie, which will feature Sam,
Mhm.
then I don't know if I needed it. Like, I don't know if I needed a 6 episode miniseries to tell the story of how Sam becomes Captain America. Because we ended Endgame with him
Already
receiving the
being,
shield.
yeah, he was already.
So, so we already assumed he's going to become Captain America. So did I need this particular story to tell me how he takes up the mantle? I
Mhm.
don't know.
Although one can say it was because they wanted to show that what he inherited was not just Steve's legacy, but what he inherited was a legacy that goes beyond Steve.
Mm.
Hence that
Isaiah
storyline.
Bradley.
Yeah. Now, my frustration with the series boils down to with everyone you introduced, I don't feel anyone is someone I have to look out for.
Okay.
I don't feel like I care about the Flag Smashers.
Mm.
I don't feel like the Power Broker really has a big influence.
Yes.
I don't feel. Um, I mean, the closest is I know that there's that team that's forming because of Val, but even that, I feel it's still a street level threat. If that's a
Mm.
terrible thing to say. So, parang coming from the highs of the Infinity War and all that, since we're dealing with someone who might be being set up as a new team or as a new villain thing, I'm hoping they ramp up more to see why they should be something to be feared or something we should fear be focused on. Kasi parang um, like when we learned about the Red Skull, we knew he had armies,
Yes.
diba? So here, if she's supposed to be that influential because she's supposedly working within the confines of the government, I feel we need to see more of that to really feel that she'll be dangerous.
Mm. Yeah. At the moment, it's just like funny cameo.
It almost feels like she snuck into the base and talked to Walker. It didn't feel like she's that in control. So I don't know yet. I need more to see that happen. This series could have been a setup for some big bad to look out for. Because One Division did that. Even if we dealt with um, who was eventually revealed to be the villain, quote unquote, uh, because it was her all along. Um, we
Bum,
still
bum,
have the feeling
bum,
there is a
bum, bum,
greater
bum,
threat
bum.
out there that has to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't feel that with the series.
Yeah, and then I know there's the obvious parallels between like how the early MCU movies
Mhm.
and had Coulson recruiting heroes
Mm.
into the Avengers Initiative that was being called at the time. So there was that. We didn't necessarily know about them. We just knew that they were a secret agency, and then that kind of worked. But then at this point, you can't just do the same shtick again, especially with someone like Val, who for her debut into the MCU is not clandestine.
Mm.
She is high society. She's a mover. She's a shaker. She's a, you know, people know my name. But as an audience, we don't know who that means.
Yeah, I mean, we could have had that in earlier scenes, like maybe in the ceremony with the shield. We see her in the audience,
Mm-mm.
and we see the generals talking to her, and she's laughing. So there's that feeling of sino yun, and why is the
Uh-uh.
generals all fawning over her? And then later in the end, we see that reveal. Then we would have had that sense of, wait, this woman's well connected.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
didn't have that. So
Instead, it's Dreyfus.
I wonder now if they shaved off scenes. Were there scenes, but um, she had what's her name of Black Widow present, so they had to cut those scenes out.
Oh, okay.
So like in the scene where she talks,
Hello again.
diba? Because she was the first approached supposedly.
Yeah,
So
kasi at the end of Black Widow, they've already been working together.
there's that implication of, was the Walker scene where she's with another assistant, was that supposed to be her?
Maybe, maybe. But then would you parade her around? Because I think she's still like a dangerous quantity and things. Um. Okay. Is it okay for everyone? We saw the hiccup. Are the stars gone now? I know it takes a while to like come back. Uh, Let us know the three people still watching this.
So to wrap up, story arcs. So we definitely know that the Skrull invasion is happening. We don't know if this new team forming because of Val will be related to that in any way.
Okay. Yeah.
Assuming it's not, the only other major story arcs we could think of connecting to a group like that would be what? Would it be a fear itself moment? Because, Captain America also inherited Thor's hammer. So who has the hammer now? Will that be a version of fear itself? Uh, will it be a secret society revamped to now connect to her group instead of the Thunderbolts? Because we know all of us are thinking it's the Thunderbolts.
That seems like the low hanging fruit of groups. Unless it's either Thunderbolts or a Dark Avengers style
Yeah, it could
group.
be the Dark Siege. Was that the name of the story
See,
arc?
Dark. Huh?
The Siege, the Dark Siege.
No, Siege was an was this?
Ano became president?
No, Siege is the Asgard in Oklahoma
Mm,
problem,
mm, mm.
and then Dark Reign
Dark Reign.
is
Dark
where
Reign.
the Dark Avengers come in because Norman Osborn is like everybody's favorite person. So, um, I don't know. We are in an angle to have something like Siege only because the Asgardians are on Earth.
Mhm.
But then I don't know if they're really gonna go in that direction. I guess we'll know more after Love and Thunder,
Mhm.
the movie, and then
Do you think there will be like an ascension of Val to presidency or something like that?
I don't think so. Only because I don't know. I don't feel like she is the I want to be in the limelight.
It just seems funny though if the Veep becomes the president.
I knew you're gonna go there. I knew you're gonna go there. Okay.
And then she like a throwaway line, I could have been vice president or something.
Yeah, yeah. And I know I struggle at this thing at the end only because nga, since I really didn't feel like the series served like the greater phase 4 well, then because I feel that way because there aren't many plot lines I'm excited to explore
Mhm.
coming out of the series. I mean, like, Sam is Captain America. Okay, we knew that. There's going to be a movie, that's fine. If the show was just to give us a better relationship between him and the Winter Soldier so that Bucky can appear in the movie too, okay, they achieved that goal. That's fine. I
Mhm.
would love to see them together. Um, Power Broker didn't go anywhere. Do I care if the Power Broker shows up again? I don't think the Flag Smashers deserve to show up again. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know where that would go. The Val stuff will exist whether or not the show happened because she's post credit scene cameo material. So
Mhm.
we would see you could shoehorn that in anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and then Zemo, I don't know enough yet to really care unless in another movie Zemo has a post credit scene with Val.
Yeah, nga eh. I'm wondering if the Zemo not having a connected scene with Val is a feint. But in
Mm.
the end, it's really Zemo's plan, and Val was just setting it up for him.
It was emo Zemo all along. So yes, there is that. Like I didn't I didn't walk away with the series as a fanboy like feeling like oh my god
Mm.
there's so much potential, it's gonna go to this, it's gonna go to this.
Same.
Because like at least with WandaVision, as weird as the ending was and as rushed as it felt, but then the ending still leaves you feeling oh my god, multiverse of madness, and she oh my god she's doing that. So
Mhm.
there was that and then even now with Loki, and I know we're gonna talk about, but it had that same feeling too. Oh my god,
Where can this go
where
next?
can this go next?
Yeah,
This
that's what
one,
this.
it really felt because it's a mini series that they have no firm plans of continuing. There's a pump, and then we'll see you again in the movie,
Mhm.
and that was it. So that was a bit of a disappointment on that angle.
Yeah.
So it's like good writing, good stuff covered, bad MCU connected.
Mhm.
Noel says the only reason you watch because of Stan. Sure, sure, I can respect that. Um, and I think I was super surprised because I didn't really like. I never do research on these things ahead of time. So we come in pretty pretty without biases in that respect. So I was surprised only midway to learn that wait, it's only a 6 episode series,
Hmm.
and I think it was like episode 3 or 4, and like we're gonna end in 2 more episodes, and I didn't feel like we were there yet. I didn't feel like we had earned an ending.
I also feel that American TV has yet to master a 6 episode storyline.
Hmm.
Compared to how
British trope.
British television has, always had very short first seasons, at least. Diba? Parang it's the 6 episode later expand sometimes, but they're more used to it. So I don't know how it will happen later on, or how they'll develop it further.
Yeah, because admittedly, I felt similarly with Loki, and like, we're only getting 6 episodes. I feel like it could have deserved an eight. Even with Falcon Winter Soldier, I think it could have done better with 2 more episodes.
Mm.
It doesn't. I didn't. I don't want like a 20 episode season, but I still feel like this was a little too short. And then WandaVision was weird because it gave us 9.
Mm.
It's such a terrible number, which I feel like because of the way that MCU plans adjusted to COVID, then they kind of either tacked on or took away from WandaVision, and so they ended up with a weird 9 episode arc.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a weird number. 9 is not a typical number for a TV series. 6 I kind of get, but 9 was weird. All right. Anything else we want to cover about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I think that's pretty much it. Um,
To be fair, this series made me read the comics. Like I read the Sam Wilson as Captain America
mm,
comics. I've been explore. I finally took the time to sit down and read the Brubaker Captain America Winter Soldier comics. I'm still reading some of the weird Marvel Now period Winter Soldier comics. So, I mean, like in that sense, I guess it was successful as a comic book sale mechanism. I'm finally reading these things, so there is that side effect. Um, but like, I guess it depends on like what the title of the Captain America movie is gonna be before I can like really decide if I'll get excited or not. Like, would you know how that is? Like, because the title implies the storyline, or will get you hyped up for like what comic book plots they may be tapping into. And so I'm not there yet.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Wala pang mention.
Yeah. It's like it's out there, but I think they're also like weighing the success and failure of each Disney Plus and MCU release to determine the impact on the greater world of Marvel Studios. Okie dokes.
Okie dokes. So yeah.
The Captain America 3 untitled. So, that would not excite me. I need more. All right. So that covers this. Unless you're gonna have anything else.
No, I think that's good. That's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly, Baduy Pride Ideas. We have I think we're encouraging more people to throw in like some of these geekier suggestions. We've been bringing them up based on popularity, but it could be cool to get more suggestions from you guys, and they may be featured on the show. Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. I skipped over stuff. You can follow us on Twitter, AltoVinoShade, or just gonna go.
You can also check out our blog, badaypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Then the thing about notifications. Okay. And feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and like, hey, what do you want? All right. That's all we got. At least the rain has stopped for now. Stay safe and dry, everyone.
Thanks
Good night
for
for
watching.
now.